Hi, everybody. Merry Lymphmas. Welcome to the December Lymphedema Patient Roundtable hosted by Lympha Press. My name is Alexa Ercolano. I'm the Marketing and Communications Associate here at Lympha Press, and I also have primary lymphedema myself. And we are so excited you're with us tonight. We've got a lovely hour ahead with our gals. I'm going to introduce you to everyone, and while I do that, just pop your name in the chat and let us know where you're tuning in from. So, we have Angela Jones, our lovely lady in red. She's a lymphedema patient and health coach. How are you, Angela? She says, I'm fine. We have Catherine Rosenberg, a pediatric cancer survivor living with secondary lymphedema. She's an advocate, and I always like to remind everyone, a math teacher. So any math questions you have for the evening, you can send them to Catherine. Nope. Yo,
Not
you're
for
on
four
winter break?
weeks.
Oh,
4 weeks.
4 weeks. Okay, never mind. No math questions for Catherine. Please save them till the new year. We've got Karen Ashforth, certified lymphedema therapist and fibrosis queen. Hi, Karen. And y'all might see a different face in the panel tonight. This is Evy Dominguez, known as Evy California on Instagram. She is a roller skating primary lymphedema patient from California with a positive outlook that's as bright as the compression that she wears. And we're so excited to have her with us tonight. Hey, Evy.
Hi everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited you're here too. And it's great to see some new and old names in the chat. We're so glad you're with us tonight. Before we get started, I'm going to do the usual quick housekeeping, a reminder to pop your questions in the Q&A box so we don't miss them during the chat. And we're going to do our best to address them as we continue on tonight. And at the end of the evening, Karen is going to do a nice little holiday reflection for us as we close out our final roundtable of the year, if you can believe it. And our gentle reminder that we're not your doctors, we're your pals though, so we will not answer any specific medical questions or give you medical advice because we don't know your treatment. You got to talk to your doctor, please, or your lymphedema therapist. But we have Karen on the panel to answer in more general terms, and we're grateful to have her for that. And I'm gonna stop yapping and I'm gonna put our guest Evy on the spot to tell us a little bit about her lymphedema story and also how she has such a positive outlook to her lymphedema life.
Thank you. Thanks, Alexa. I'm excited to be here. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Ivania, Evy for short. I reside in Northern California. I was diagnosed with primary lymphedema in my right leg. My lymph nodes were underdeveloped. They weren't fully developed when I was born. So I came out with one leg bigger than the other. And growing up with lymphedema, I faced my fair share of bullying, a ton of bullying. It wasn't easy. It was really hard. I grew up with a ton of insecurities. But as I grew older, the one thing that I realized is that my life is way too colorful and full of joy to let a dark past hold me back from a bright future. And I found so much happiness in my life through hobbies such as roller skating and my supportive family and my friends and my peers and my wonderful colleagues and an amazing, amazing team of doctors and CLTs. Shout out to Karen Fleming, my CLT. She's on the call watching us. And for me, it's always been about focusing about what makes my life vibrant and meaningful. And I've learned that the negativity that others often project on me, it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with them, right? That's their problem. I'm not going to focus on like their negative outlook on me. I need to focus on myself. So I think for me, like if I could give advice to anyone who is living with those insecurities or like self-acceptance with their lymphedema, I would say find the things that light you up, right? Pursue hobbies. For me, it's roller skating. I love roller skating. It's so much fun. Pick up any hobby that brings you joy. Crochet, join a Ryan Gosling lookalike contest. Do what lights you up. And then surround yourself with people who uplift you. And for me, that was finding my support system, my lymphedema community. Like I found all of my lymphedema friends through social media. And It's been such an amazing ride. I mean, I've met all of my lymphedema friends all over the world. It's been such a wonderful feeling knowing that I'm not the only one living with this condition. And I encourage everyone out there, go out there and find your support system, because there are people just like you and they just don't even know it. And three, remember that your uniqueness is your strength. Like, yes, I have lymphedema. Yes, it's a pain to manage, but I'm not going to let it stop me from doing the things that I love in my life. You know, I'm going to keep roller skating, even if I have one leg bigger than the other, because I know how much that brings me joy, and I know how much it fills my cup of joy. So because the more I embrace these things, the more that I embrace all of the happiness that comes and enters into my life, the smaller those negative voices in my head become. And my story is my story to write, and I can fill it up with as much color and as joy as I want, even with my colorful compression garments.
I love that. I always love when you pop up on my Instagram feed because it's like bright pink compression going by quickly on a roller skate, and oh, you're bright orange and all this. And I'm such a neutrals girl, but I love to vicariously live through the rainbow of everyone else wearing the colorful compression. I think that's really awesome. We have some people in the chat. Olivia Eggers, who was on the roundtable a few months ago. She's a friend of the roundtable. She says, such wise words from our roller skating queen. And Sandra says her daughter does roller derby and she thinks it's great you love roller skating.
Oh
Just
my gosh, I mean, I don't personally do roller derby. I'm such a scaredy cat, but I highly, highly respect people who do it. I will always be on the sidelines cheering on the roller derby girls. But that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm more of like a roller disco kind of girl. Like I swear I was born in the wrong era. I really feel like I was born in the 70s. Donna Summer is my queen. Like, oh, that's just my era. I'm a disco queen, a roller disco girl.
that's so awesome. And I loved what you were saying about finding a hobby. And that reminds me of something Angela said months back. But Angela, you said something about like not making sure that lymphedema like isn't your sole thing in life and that you find things and meet people outside of that. Do you want to speak a little bit, give us a refresher on that philosophy? Because I love that so much.
Yeah, I think it's important that we not close ourselves in. I also think it's important not to get involved in too many things, but you find something that really resonates with you. Like, for instance, when I'm in Arizona, I do Readers Theater and I actually am involved in plays to real audiences. So you find something that you really like, and I think it gives you strength. I think it takes away any fears that you might have regarding, okay, one leg might be bigger than the other, so what? And it gives you an opportunity also to educate people. But I think it's very important to realize that you're not your disease. Your disease is not you. It's just something that is a part of you, but it's not you. So,
Powerful words. Yeah, and Catherine does marching band, right? So that's another awesome non-lymphedema activity. How do you manage that? Because that's a lot of time on your feet, right? Because it's marching.
Well, I'm not marching. I'm
Oh, okay.
teaching the kiddos how to do it. Um, but those days, because only 2 days a week for me, that 2 nights a week. Well, now that's actually over. We finished that in the beginning of November. But those days, I wind up setting my alarm earlier, use my compression pump in the morning first, and then when I get home, I'll do it again. To this because I was on my feet for so long, and actually somehow I managed to throw in an NLP session right smack in the middle of school day and marching band practice, so that this way I'm kind of like figuring out, making sure that my body's going to be okay to be up and on it for that long.
That's such a good point that like living with this, we kind of learn how to adapt and adjust our routines so that we can do the things that we want to do and that bring us joy or that we have to do for work or whatever reason. But if we just make these little adjustments here and there, we use our compression pump ahead of time or afterwards, we drink more water, we elevate, whatever it may be, we can healthfully, do the things that we want to do still. Susan in the chat says she's on a bowling league and she does it every 2 weeks. That is so much fun. I love that. Okay, well, this is great. I love this positive start to the evening. Last year we did something kind of fun. We did Dear Lymphie Santa, where we said what we would ask if there's a lymphedema Santa, what we would ask him for the holidays this year. And I would love to put our panelists on the spot, and anyone in the chat wants to chime in too. What's on your list that you're asking lymphedema Santa for this year? Anyone want to tackle that first?
I can go first if you'd like.
Sure.
I think for me, I would like Lymphedema Santa to provide more colorful compression garments so I can style my lymphedema in a fun and stylish way, and to be rid of all the cellulitis infections in the world. That would be the ultimate gift.
That would be a great one. Who else? Unless you're on the naughty list and you know you shouldn't be asking Lymphie Santa for anything because you're getting cold. Catherine.
For me, I would want to be able to train other medical professionals that work inside the doctor's offices who are not familiar with lymphedema, exactly what it is and how it affects various things. Because it definitely, you're not your textbook case in a lot of ways. And unfortunately, a lot of us get treated like we're textbook cases, and that doesn't work. So I've had a lot of stuff go on this year because of that, including a procedure just yesterday. So to try to fix this, but you know, it's important for us to have not only the doctors who are treating us, but their office staff understand, you know, like our nurses and physician assistants who work with them, even though lymphedema might not be their primary surgical for like their surgical classification of what they operate on is just not that. They need to have their staff understanding that when they do have a lymphatic surgical case, they have to understand what that means, what happens, and how do we proceed differently. Because unfortunately, I was thrown into a textbook case a lot this year, and as a result, them putting me into a box doesn't work. As I said 2 years ago at the National Lymphedema Network Conference, I do not fit in a box, never have, never will, and that's not changing. So I need people to understand that don't fit me into a box because I'm not going to fit. So let's do it. Let's work together to get it to work the right way.
That's awesome. Let's move that to the top of the list, I think, for Santa.
Please do. I would appreciate that. My body would appreciate that too.
Yeah.
We have Yolanda in the chat saying she wants Lymphedema Santa to provide wide ankle boots. Yes, and I can put some links in the chat for some footwear that might be some good options for you. Susan says she would love more comfortable compression socks. Tamara says she loves to have my sleeves for my arms. She says I have the pumps for my legs. Also, I agree with Catherine. And MK says, I would like lymphedema to be a condition listed on medical forms, not other, and then disregarded when it's noted there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Angela, what's on your list?
I think I would ask Lympha Santa for myself and anyone else who during the course of the year has experienced inconsistency. I have been battling with it lately, and I would ask for the gift of just give me the gift of consistency. I have a tendency to, if something works today, it better work tomorrow, but that's not going to be the case always. So I have to be consistent because I will get frustrated if it worked for 2 days and all of a sudden it doesn't work anymore. So I will get frustrated, and that breaks my consistency. And then sometimes it takes a minute for me to get back on track, get off the rails, and just try something else and go forward. So I would definitely ask for the gift of consistency, ongoing consistency, regardless of what happens when something doesn't work.
I like that. Gift of consistency, which is challenging because lymphedema is not a very consistent condition day to day, but that would be awesome. Karen, as a therapist, what is on your list for Lymphie Santa?
I would say way up at the top of my list is to end the suffering that people have and bring more joy into all of our lives.
You could always use more joy. I like that. We've got some more chatter in the chat, people sharing their Christmas list for Lymphie Santa. Lori says, more lymphedema therapists so everyone can get the help and care they need. Yes. Brina, sorry, your name's getting cut off in the chat here, but Brenna says, pneumatic pumps that I don't need help to put myself in, and better fitting pumps and compression for large arm lymphedema. She has lipolymphedema in her arms. Olivia says, I'm asking Lymphie Santa for similar to what Catherine is asking for, more medical professionals to have familiarity with lymphatic diseases. It would be so nice to not have to explain myself every time I walk into a medical office. Also asking for more colorful compression and for more opportunities to see my Lymphie friends too. Chris says, selfishly, I would like it to never have been or be a thing. Yeah, I think we all feel that, Chris. I think I'm asking Lymphie Santa for, gosh, I don't know. I wish there could be just this like bat signal type thing we could put out for everyone out there who doesn't even know there's a community for them yet to know that we're all here. I think that would be a big thing. Right now, I am serving a 2-year term on the National Commission on Lymphatic Diseases with the NIH. And one of the things we're struggling with is how can we even understand the scope and the breadth of the lymphatic disease community when it's so hard to get these people diagnosed. It's so hard to even quantify who's out there and what size this community is, because it's so much bigger than just all of us here tonight. There's people out there who don't even know they're a part of this community. So I'd love there to be some kind of way to sort of cast a net and let everybody know, like almost like Horton Hears a Who. We're here, like we're here for you guys. And if you feel alone, there's so many people out there who can understand. So that's my wish, just to throw out that signal. Evie says, you're in the chat and you're, Evie said in the chat, animal print compression garments. That would be really fun. I did see, I think it's Jobst or Juzo. They have a seam now that's rainbow, which is kind of cool on their garments. Catherine, what are you going to say?
So somebody actually posted in the question and answer box about where do you get colorful compression. So as most of you know, I do wear colorful compression. And at one point, Medi actually did have an animal print that was zebra-like. They actually ended it only like 2 years ago because I had several garments in that. It was a two-tone color. Most of the compression companies now have colors if you're getting custom. It just depends on the type of color that you're looking for. If you're looking for bright and really bright and fun, honestly, my choice of color custom garments go to Medi for that. If you're looking for more professional on the darker end, I would go with Jobst. And there is one cool thing about Juzo is that you can get their trend colors in any of the custom garments made, and Juzo is the only one that I know that has tie-dye. So each one of the companies, major compression companies, has their own type of color. It just depends on what you're in the mood for and what you're not in the mood for. So I have a wide variety of colors. I live off of my colors. And 2 years ago, when I was teaching my seniors in high school, one of my students actually said to me, you can't go to my parent meeting like that. And I said, why? You're not wearing your cool colors. So he says to me, you need to go home and change. I said, it goes too far away. I can't go home and change. He's like, well, we have to make sure mom understands that, this is too professional for you. So it was kind of a neat way for them to experience understanding that I have a medical condition as a 17 and 18-year-old child. And they would have a competition on a regular basis trying to guess what color I had underneath my pants. Because sometimes they would see it and sometimes they won't. Sometimes they were right and sometimes they were wrong. So we had a little fun with it on a regular basis with it because, it actually brought out some interesting conversations because of it.
That's the really cool thing with compression garments in general. Like, I totally understand. It's kind of you have to go through a mental journey to get to a point where you're comfortable wearing your garments in like a visible way. But once you reach that point, or you have those days where it's like, F it, I'm wearing this garment. Everyone's gonna see it. I don't want to be too hot and wear pants. I'm gonna have my garments out. Like when you reach that point, it is so freeing. And also it is like this really cool act of awareness just by existing out in the public wearing a compression garment, because people are getting used to seeing that. And if they see someone else with it, they may remember running into you and having that short conversation waiting for the elevator about what'd you do to your arm or what happened to your leg or whatever. So it's kind of a neat way to sort of have that conversation with people about lymphedema. If you're comfortable, you never have to talk about your body or your health issues if you don't want to, obviously. But if you're in a place where you're feeling confident and you're feeling like you want to chat about your lymphedema a little bit, it's really, you know, a cool way to do that. Cool conversation starter. We're getting a question in the Q&A box. I see Catherine already typing an answer. So I think this might be a good one for the group. Susan asked, this is my first time in this group. I would like to know what is the best way to wear compression socks to help them feel less tight. Karen, Catherine, anyone want to address this? Go ahead, Catherine.
So you really don't want your compression garments to not feel tight, because if they're not tight, they're not going to hold and your leg's going to expand into them. So that's a hard question because of the fact that, you know, you want them to be tight and contain yourself, but at the same time, you want to be comfortable. So this might be a little bit of our lovely trial and error type thing, because different compression companies do different percentages on how the garments are made, and some are softer than others. So for instance, Medi has two different lines that I wear. One's either the 550 or the 450. The 450 is more stretchy and it's not necessarily as containing as the 550 is. The 550 is really hard to get on. But that is more of an independent, like you have to trial and error to see what garment material works for you. Whereas Jobst, I know, has their regular Jobst Elverex, but they also have an Elverex Soft, which is softer, but that's also latex free. So it's kind of like, depending on what your individual needs are, is going to help. But there are options that are built, you can have built into your compression garments to help with areas that can be painful. Like I know, Alexa, I believe you use the padding, right, in at the base here, at the top of your foot.
I have a silk lined panel on the
Yeah.
front of my ankle and behind my knee, and it helps a lot. I mean, you're still gonna get at the end of the day a little bit of that pinchiness that's like, I feel like, unavoidable, but it helps so much having that softer panel on the inside.
And the other option that I've actually recently learned about is that a lot of people I'm noticing are saying that they're always sensitive to the top band when you're getting a thigh high, and they don't like those huge silicone dots. Sometimes they leave marks. Most compression companies now have a sensitive top band, and it does not leave those marks. And I won't order a garment without that anymore, because it holds it up just as good as it did before, if not better, actually. I don't get the big circle indentations in my leg from it. But there's various options that you can have done from all of these compression companies. If you don't know what the options are on the order forms, reach out into social media, Facebook groups, because a lot of us have lots to say about them, but also reach out directly to the companies and their representatives, because they'll be able to help you to figure out, you know, what kind of garment is best for you in conjunction with your therapist.
Yeah, that's good advice. Go ahead, Karen.
So I also noticed that there was just a question in the chat, same idea. And that was regarding a custom compression garment that wasn't feeling comfortable. And so there's a lot of difference between types of compression garments, just as, you know, Catherine was pointing out that different manufacturers have different features, and some can make it more or less comfortable depending on a person's needs. When we're talking about custom garments, it's generally a flat knit garment that is stiffer and thicker and provides better containment. But because it is custom made for you to your measurements, it should be comfortable. And they usually have a period of time where you can return it and have it remade if it just doesn't seem to be working. They usually recommend that you wash the garment first before you wear it, because there's sizing that comes in the garment. And you want to give it a good try, but on the other hand, you don't want to suffer. So it's kind of finding that balance. Compression should never hurt. It can be uncomfortable, as Alexa mentioned, towards the end of the day. It can start to feel tighter. And as you'll find, a lot of people have wardrobes of lymphedema garments. And many people want to take off their daytime garment when they get home and put on their nighttime garment. It's kind of like taking off your high heels and putting on your slippers, because it can just make all the difference in the world. You still have compression and containment, but it's not as intense. So there's infinite combinations of how to do this. And I would encourage you to work with your fitter and work with your lymphedema therapist and just keep asking questions until you can find a combination that you're comfortable with. And I do want to mention that pneumatic compression can be very helpful, especially for people that are swelling more and more as the day goes by. We have all sorts of different flavors of swelling. I have some patients that wake up and they feel more swollen because they're not as active at nighttime. And we all know that the lymphatic system relies on our muscle contraction to move lymph. So when we're asleep, that doesn't happen unless we are thrashing around a lot. But some people actually have less swelling in the morning because the body is elevated, especially the legs are elevated. So in that case, as the day goes by, swelling can get worse. And that might be where pulling out the pump in the afternoon would give you kind of a breather and refresh things, because it would decongest that load of swelling that's accumulating during the day and make it more comfortable to wear compression. So there's lots of different ways to do this. Just keep trying, just keep asking. And I see Catherine wanting to chime in. Go for it, girl.
One other thing is, when you do get measured for your compression garments, my suggestion would be to get measured in the morning, because that's when you're going to be putting them on, so that this way you have a better chance of them coming in at the right fit for when the time of day in which you are putting them on. Or if you're a person who, has things to do in the morning and you don't put your compression right on, try to schedule your measurement appointment around the time in which you would be putting it on, so that this way, when it comes in, you have a better chance of the leg being about that same size, based on the fact that the measurements were done in the morning. So for me, one time I had measurements done in the afternoon after work, that garment came in so big for me when I put it on first thing in the morning, because we measured at 4:30 in the afternoon after being on my feet all day. So it makes the most sense to try to schedule whenever you're putting that garment on, try to get an appointment around that time of day, so that, and do your typical, whatever you would normally do before, so that this way everything is as consistent as possible, so you can get the best chance of the garment coming in, and coming in correctly. And I know Karen had said about different garment companies have a time frame. I believe it's 30 days for almost all of them that you can get it adjusted. But there has to be a significant difference in the new measurements versus the ones that they made the garment to. It's like, you can't tell them I want it remade for a half a centimeter. That's not going to work. I believe it has to be 2 centimeters or more for them to remake it.
Yeah, Christine in the chat just said, I did return a pair twice. The fit is not great, so the other 2 pairs are another make and much better. I'm looking forward to getting my once every 6 months new garments in January per Medicare limit. Hang in there. Yeah. Yeah, it's, if it doesn't, I feel like every time I get or measured for a garment, I always have to have it remeasured. Like it's like the toe or something is off. So Catherine, I love that tip of getting measured in the mornings. I think that's really a nice one. And also, if you're having trouble getting your actual garment on, textured gardening gloves are a really good tool to have in your toolbox to help kind of zhuzh them up and get your garment situated, even if your upper extremity also. So yeah, I love that. We love when we get fun little tips for living with lymphedema. We see our friend Fenton in the chat. He says, season's greetings, everyone. Fenton from Trenton, finally in the house. Hey, Fenton. So we are at the end of the year, which is like super hard to believe. It's December. And I was thinking it would be kind of neat for people to sort of reflect back on this past year and what were some lessons learned or some highlights of your lymphedema life or in the lymphedema world, or just your own personal self? Like, what are some things as you look back on 2024 that you're going to carry with you into the new year? And then second question, what are some intentions or goals you have for yourself in the new year? Because it is right around the corner. Anyone want to start? I know it's a couple big questions.
I will start because
Go for
this
it.
has been a huge year for me. So I went through a major move, my husband and I, and it just seems like one transition after another. And we had been planning to take off in our van and travel around the country. And that has been delayed a little bit. Another thing that's been delayed that I feel really sad about is that due to a number of circumstances, I've had to postpone my lipedema research project in Tucson with Dr. Karen Herbst. And at this point, we're targeting 2026. So I want to just appreciate this community because I've had a lot of support from you. Not everyone in this group has or even knows about lipedema, but we found some allies to support and help with this study. So I'm just going to drop an email in the chat because if anyone is interested in getting updates on where we're going to be going in the future, or if you yourself know or want to be a subject in the study or a research volunteer, it's still open. It's just not happening in the time frame that I had originally wanted. So my intention for 2025 is to really just flow with what's there and make sure that I do the important things first, because my life has been nothing but uncertain for the last 8 months, and that's going to continue for a while. So I have to just really practice flexibility and surrender and doing it in a cheerful and graceful way. And I think I'm up to the task.
I really love that. I think, yeah, make a plan, God laughs sometimes. So I think it's wonderful to kind of just embrace that and just kind of go with it and see where it takes you. Colleen in the chat shared that she's happy she finally has an answer on why she was in pain, and it's lipedema. And we're really grateful that you have that answer now too. Mary says, I'm grateful for the benefit of my Lymphapress Optimal Plus, finally approved in October. Woo woo! Excited for you. That's awesome. Anyone else on the panel want to share reflection / resolution / intention? See all your little cogs turning. Catherine, go ahead.
So for me, I want to see more people, patients step up and really advocate for themselves. I didn't realize how much advocating I do for myself, even within my own medical practices with my doctors, how much I had to really work with them this year. I would like to work with them a little bit less next year because I spent more time with them this year than I have in a really long time. But I think I finally got them to fully get a better grasp of what's going on with me, to understand that I'm not a textbook case. And that is seriously the hardest thing to do, because of the fact that I've been living with this for 34 years, that, I know what my body does and what it doesn't do. Whereas my physicians don't always understand. They want to try to fit me into that fit a square peg into a circle hole, which doesn't work. So I think that for me, for this year, I have to kind of work on patience a little bit, because of the fact that I got very frustrated when people weren't listening, because of the fact that they didn't understand the way my body functions. Unfortunately, I know my body really well, but I haven't been wrong yet, and I don't think I will be, because of the fact I'm the one who lives inside of my skin. It's just a matter of that I have to portray it to the medical community in a way that they can understand what's actually going on. And that's really hard to do when there's a lot of people in the medical community who are not educated enough about lymphedema and about the long-term side effects of it from having it as a pediatric cancer survivor at 8 years old.
Yeah. And we always joke that Catherine should have, like, you know, how Girl Scouts have the sash with all the badges of achievements and things. Catherine, you would be our most decorated lymphedema patient, I think.
I think I would need about 50. I think yesterday was surgery number 54. So I think I would need 54. I think I would need 54 patches.
Yeah, you'd maybe need a couple extra sashes too to accommodate all.
Yeah,
Just
probably.
for the surgeries alone. My goodness.
Yeah.
We so appreciate the wisdom and the perspective you bring each month, Catherine, because of everything you've been through. You're just such a tough cookie, and we really appreciate you for that. Angela or Evie, which one will be on the spot next? I think Angela.
In reflecting my own behavior, I realized I had a lot of anger during the year. And I realized too that there's really no place for anger when there's a chronic condition, because it kind of, it cuts you off from paying attention to how you really feel being angry. And I've dealt with some anger this year, from the lymphedema. I have a knee that's just barely hanging on as far as the cartilage is concerned. And so I've been kind of angry, and I've really had to stop and think, there's no point in getting angry because it doesn't solve anything. So that is a reflection for me. And going forward, I want to own my emotions, but I don't want the emotions to control me and stop me. And that is a hard lesson for me to learn.
Most important things, I think, are hard ones. And I think you're up for the task. You're so wonderful too. You're another tough cookie. We've got a whole little basket of tough cookies on this panel. We're so lucky.
Honey, the cookie crumbles sometimes.
The cookie does crumble, but
Yeah.
that's okay, because that's what happens. That's what happens. Evie, how about you?
Hey, okay, so my New Year's resolution, and I know this sounds really cliche, but it's to prioritize my health and well-being. And by that, I mean, like, I don't travel a lot, but I travel a lot for someone who has lymphedema. So traveling with lymphedema means managing it a lot when I'm overseas. It means packing my medical equipment, like my pump and my extra compression garments, being extra careful of my sodium intake and wearing extra compression on a plane, or if I'm on a road trip, it means taking extra stops to stretch out my limbs. This year, I want to set healthier boundaries and make decisions that support my needs, even if it means saying no to outings and visits. It's about recognizing that self-care is not selfish, it's essential. So that's like one of like my 10 years resolutions I have next year. We'll see if I accomplish it, but that for sure is on the top of the list.
I really love that. I hope some roller skating routines are on your list too. And if everyone on here, if you're not following Evie on Instagram, you should check her out. Evie California is her handle, and she posts all kinds of awesome, colorful videos of her roller skating or doing really cool outfits. And it's just so much fun. And her recent travels were so fun to follow vicariously.
Yeah, I have one more before the end of the year. So, and that's it. I'm calling it quits. I'm going back to bed.
Going back to bed. Make sure you elevate when you're going to bed.
Yeah, yes, of course.
Catherine, you had a quote you wanted to share that was pertinent to the group.
I think so. So this was actually something that a family member posted on my Facebook page last Thursday, which is actually my 34th birthday of my cancer diagnosis. So the quote says, "She believed she could, but she was tired. So she rested, and you know what? The world went on and it was okay. She knew she could try again tomorrow." So, and that quote really sits hard with me because of the fact that's exactly what we do every single day. because we're trying to adjust for everything that our body is doing, and we don't have control of it. So sometimes you just have to believe that that things will work out, and in the end, they always tend to. It's just a matter of, did I take the curvy path? Did I take the straight path, or did I take the upside down roller coaster path? Catherine on the here tends to take the upside down roller coaster path, followed by the curvy path, but then the straight path to get where I need to go. But in the end, I always wind up being okay the next day. And it just, that quote really sunk in for me. And I feel like that quote can really sink in for majority of lymphedema patients, because we never have a straight path. We always have to detour around things and make trial and errors. Yes, they are costly, those trial and errors, but at the same time, you know what? Once you find what works for you, you know it works, and then you can have that straight path ahead.
Yeah, I'm kind of continuing this theme of, life isn't linear, and accepting those curves and detours along the way. I frequently refer to the serenity prayer of, accept the things I cannot change, and, the wisdom to know the difference, et cetera, et cetera. Because I also had a year of unexpected, things, or, I was preparing for surgery in November, and a few days before I was already at the hospital, and it was canceled. And it was something out of everyone's control. If you all tuned in last month or saw the replay, you heard the story, but it was a devastating thing at first, because I was prepared. I was so ready to do this mentally, physically, emotionally, and then all of a sudden, not happening. And having to pivot and like accept that, like, okay, sometimes things don't go the way we expect to, and it's only gonna help us sort of move through that if we can, acknowledge the disappointment or the fear or whatever it is we're feeling. But you have to kind of just redirect, kind of like when the GPS finds a new route. It's like, okay, how am I going to get through this one now? And you move and you keep that momentum going. So that's my intention for the new year's, to keep momentum, gather some more momentum on some things, and just keep it going. But yeah. We are winding down soon. I know it's a little early before Karen's holiday reflection, so I'm going to invite the panel. If you have anything in particular, or any thoughts bouncing around that you'd want to share. And this is our last one of 2024, which is crazy. So any oh, Evie just shared a travel tip in the chat, because Colleen had said she's taking her first trip with her pump coming up. And Evie said, I don't know if you want to read it yourself. We're reading your chat when you're right here. Go ahead.
Sorry, I had to type fast.
That's
But
okay.
Colleen, and to any other fellow Lymphies on the call, just so you know, you can check in medical devices packed in a separate luggage, free of charge. Also, you can call your airline and ask for bulk seating. It's a seat with extra leg room. I always do this. It's free of charge. It also includes pre-boarding. So you're the first one on the flight, and they give you a few extra minutes to get settled, stow away your luggage. And I like to have some time carved out to hang up my foot hammock so I can elevate my foot on air flights. But be sure to do that. I like to share that with fellow Lymphies, because it's the sneaky thing corporate airline companies don't want you to know about. So my hot tip for today.
Love that. Loving all these tips tonight. And we had, I shared it privately to Colleen, but I'll put it in the chat for everyone to see too. We did a travel webinar. Gosh, was it last year? Time flies. But we did a really fun webinar on travel tips. So I'm going to pop that in the chat as well, so you all can see that if you're doing any holiday travel. Catherine, I saw you unmute and then remute. You're muted again.
Sorry.
No, you're
So Rosie S in the chat, it wasn't in the in the questions, had asked if anyone had experience with lymphovenous bypass. I think at this point, as of right now, I don't know about Evie, but I think as far as everybody else, I'm the only one that has had experience from a patient perspective on this. And I actually had two different experiences with it. One with my lower leg, and the other one actually with my thoracic duct up in my central lymphatic system. They're both they're done differently, same process, but done very differently. One has tiny little incisions, which is down in my calf, but the LVA in my neck has a full scar. So it really depends on what kind of LVA you're talking about. But also the biggest recommendation that I can suggest is to really work with the surgeon who will be potentially doing this to go over what they want pre-surgery, right up into surgery and then after surgery, so that this way you're well prepared. You have the garments that you need for what they're expecting. Because if you don't have those garments for when they need them afterwards, it's going to make it so much harder on you, because garments seems to be taking a little bit longer right now to get custom made. And I think it's because of a lot of people who weren't covered by garments prior to the LPA are now getting garments. So what used to take a week to get a compression garment is now taking almost 3.5. So that is something to consider, to make sure that you find out exactly what is needed for you, and find out the exact protocol that the doctor wants. Because you could talk to me, you could talk to other people who've had it, but each of us have a different doctor, and each doctor's going to have their own protocol. So you really want to make sure that you're communicating with them and communicate your questions and concerns with them. Don't hold back on those questions and concerns, because if you have it, then probably guaranteed if somebody else was in your shoes, they would probably have that same exact question. And there's no such thing as a dumb question. The only dumb question is the one that you don't ask.
Spoken like a true teacher, Catherine. I love that. Circling back to the travel, Yolanda said in the chat, contact TSA Cares to assist with travel. Contact them 3 days prior to travel. They will send a person to meet you at the gate and assist you going through the screening process, which is a hot tip. We also cover that in our webinar because Catherine is like the biggest TSA Cares person. She's so good at that. And Barbara asked if we could repeat about the travel. If you scroll up a little bit in the chat, Barbara, Evie had a really good long message about her tips about requesting bulk seating or bulkhead seating for your lymphedema, so you can get some extra leg room. But let us know, and we'll have the replay sent out too, so you can check that info again. We've got a question from an anonymous attendee in the Q&A box, and she's asking this specifically to Karen, as well as to me. Hi. She says, they say, all of us with lymphatic diseases could use your help to get CMEs, in particular with primary care doctors, as well as RDs, PTs, PharmDs, RNs. I see many residents for care, and they are all trained on Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but most of the residents are never trained on lymphatic diseases. I've spoken with Learn and Lipedema Simplified, and nothing has been done. This is how medical professionals keep current and get educated. Could you help advocate for us and make it easy for doctors to diagnose and treat us? Please comment and let us know a timeline that this will be offered at the next meeting. Patients will continue to be undiagnosed until this unresidency training is accomplished. Thank you so much. We need to look at solutions. From your lips to God's ears, I mean, we are trying to bang that drum as well. And I mentioned I'm in that the Commission for Lymphatic Diseases through the NIH. That is something that we are extensively assessing, looking at, trying to find recommendations, because at the end of next year, we're putting together a report of our recommendations to Congress about how to address exactly what you're saying. I mean, I wish it was as easy as, submitting a change to the curriculums and everything, but there's a lot of barriers, unfortunately, in place, but we are working on chipping away at those. So I invite you to check out, I'll put the link in the chat. The commission has all of our public meetings and town halls recorded and available to watch, so you can see the conversations going on there too. They're very insightful, and hopefully will give you a little hope that change is coming. We're all hoping for that. Karen, I don't know if you have anything to add to that from your insights as a therapist.
I think you addressed that beautifully, and hang in there, because I think that, as Alexa mentioned, lymphedema and lipedema are both gaining a lot of traction and more attention, and people are getting diagnosed sooner. And one thing that I encourage all of my patients to do is to educate their own doctors as much as possible, because we do definitely need to get this into residency curriculums. But for doctors who are already out there and practicing, many of them really want to know more about specific conditions that their patients have that they may not be familiar with. So I would encourage you to check out the Learn website. Those of you with lymphedema, the Lymphedema Foundation has a lot of amazing resources. And make a little packet for your doctors. And it's sad that we have to do that, and someday we won't have to. But for now, we're just trying to get the word out in every way that we possibly can. And I love that Alexa is on this commission with NIH. I mean, the fact that it is reaching national attention is very significant.
Thanks, Karen. Okay, well, I'm going to have you unmute again, Karen, because it's about time for the holiday reflection that you promised us and to help bring us nice and relaxed for the end of the evening.
Oh, all right. Well, I just want to say that, this is a season where we give gifts to each other, and that this group has just been such a gift to me. I really appreciate all of you, those of you who are making comments, those of you who don't, those of you who are on the panels and the guests that we've had over this past year. It's really enriched my life to be able to know you, to hear your concerns, to share information, and to interact together. So I just want to express this gratitude to this group. And as we prepare to go deeper into the holiday season, I can't believe that it's already almost the middle of December. It's blowing my mind because it seems to always come quickly, but this year, quicker than others. So I know that this is a period where it can get kind of stressful to try to take care of all the parties and the presents and the cards and decorating and all of those things. So it's great that we can be here together for an hour and have a little vacation from that. But let's just come together for a minute. And I want to go to a place where maybe we can carry some deeper joy and to de-stress into this holiday period that we're entering. So you can have your eyes open or closed, whatever works for you. But I encourage you to take a nice deep breath. And I encourage you to breathe in 3 dimensions. So as you keep breathing, just notice your rib cage expanding to the sides, to the front, and even feel it expanding into the back of your chair so that you're allowing your lungs to fully take in all the oxygen and nourishment. So I want you just to feel your body sitting on the chair and your feet on the floor. And as you take another breath, see if it's all right to just allow your body to be carried. See if you can sink into the chair another inch. And I'd like to ask you to turn your attention to your heart. And as you take another breath, you might want to put your hand on your heart. Feel your heartbeat. Feel your hand moving back and forth as your lungs inflate and deflate. And as you focus on your heart, I'm curious, what is your gift to the world this year for this holiday season? What would you like to bring to those that you meet or those that you think of and care for? What are you holding in your heart that you would like to give? And just take a minute to feel that. And staying with your heart, I'd like to ask, what is it that your heart is longing for right now? What is it that you can give to yourself or that you can ask for? What is it that you want and need in this moment? And just take a minute to be with this. And lastly, I'd like to encourage you to allow your heart to expand so that all of our hearts are expanding and touching each other, and that we're feeling the love and the support in this group surrounding each of us, because this is such a caring group. And as you take another deep breath, bring your attention slowly back to the room that you're in. If your eyes were closed, you can start to slowly begin to open them. And I just encourage all of you to let your heart guide you as we continue through this season.
Thank you so much, Karen. Your gift, I think, is that you are so grounding and centering for this group. And I don't know about you all, but I really needed that tonight. So thank you so much.
I was just gonna say, Karen, I feel so grounded now. Thank you for that. That was much needed. It's been a week,
Yes.
and a half.
So with that, everybody, you know it. We're here every second Tuesday of every month, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, the new year is upon us. So I have to update the registration page with the 2025 dates. So keep an eye out for that. And keep an eye out also for the recording. I will have that edited and sent out by the end of the week. And yeah, I just appreciate all of you. You all are such a gift, whether it's your first time here or your 31st. We just so appreciate you tuning in. Or if you're watching the replay, thanks for watching that. And I hope everybody has a cozy holiday season and a very happy new year. And we'll see you next year. So have a good night, everybody.
Woo! Merry
Bye.
Lymphmas!
Thanks, Evie, for being here. Bye, everyone.